Welcome to the Gap We Live In podcast, where we share life, purpose, and everything in between. Make sure you join the conversation and leave with tools to build bridges instead of burning them. I hope you get the ideas you need to make the gap smaller instead of increasing it. Because remember, whatever it is, you're not stuck, you're just in the gap. Hello, welcome to the Gap We Live In podcast. I am Gwendolyn Wright, your host. And this is the first episode. Welcome, welcome. I am so excited. It has been a long time in project long time coming. And a lot of my friends and as I cannot tell mom and people have said, oh, you should do a podcast. Oh, have you thought of doing a podcast? Have you? And I mean, I had not. That was the answer. But it got to a point where I had to be obedient. I had to be obedient and do it. So here we are. We're doing it. We're doing it. So welcome, welcome. If you've seen the title, this is the first episode. This is a welcome episode. I just want to share a little bit about what the podcast is about, what's the vision, what the hopes, what the plan, and pretty much is what's on my heart starting this and hopefully continuing it. By the grace of God, continuing it because I think it is God helping me to do this and He's gonna give me what I need because He's such a but an amazing provider. So thank you so much for tuning in. I cannot wait to see your reactions and what you think about what I'm gonna be sharing. So yeah, the God Believe In is a podcast where I want to give people space to reflect, think of their lives, think of the decisions that they're making, and making sure that they're not working it out of hurt, but to making it out of confidence, truth, true identity, and they're going really the right direction because a lot of time in our lives we find ourselves making decisions because they just have to make a decision. But this podcast is here to give you that space and that permission to pause and think about the decision you're gonna make. So, which is something that I honestly been still practicing in my life because it's very hard. It's not something I was conditioned to do, but it's something that has been very helpful. I can see the result now after a few years of doing it and being very intentional about why I do what I do, why I am where I am. And if I feel like it's not aligning with who God says that I am, it is not aligning with the plans or the hopes or the goals that I have for it, then I give myself permission to step back and pause and make that decision. And some and that's why I call it the gap. It is a gap. If you think about it, every day in your life, every day in our lives, we're given choices to make decisions. Be it what I'm gonna make for breakfast or am I gonna wash my veggies today? Am I on food on schedule today? Am I gonna still peeing? Just always, I think I heard it somewhere or read it somewhere that every day you are offered two choices and will pick one, and those two choices is repeat or evolve. And a lot of us, it's so easy to just repeat. Because you've done it before, it's easier. However, a lot of time that puts us in gaps. That puts us in the places that we're not meant to be. And I've been there multiple times. I cannot tell you. I mean, you're gonna learn a lot. Gonna learn throughout the podcast what I've been through my stories, through the people that I'm gonna hopefully bring on the podcast. So, and if you are when you're my friend, my old friends mostly knows that I process while writing. Sometimes I just bring this out in poems. So I wrote a small poem by word. I don't know. It's like something short, just like kind of give you a whole idea of what the podcast is about. And so when I read it to you, and then I'm gonna continue to share a little bit about myself and what you should be expecting or hoping to get from this. So yeah, the intro, it's an intro poem, I guess. Cool. Welcome to the Gapuliti podcast, where dark stories become their strategies, where performance and pretending turn into purposeful lives and relationships, where we explore ways to bridge the disconnect between top-down vision and bottom-up reality. From those who carry vision in one hand and responsibility in the other, come, let's fill in the gap we live in, because the pathway to impact isn't always a straight line, and the true fulfillment in life is in Jesus alone. I am your host, Gwendolyn Albright. Welcome to the Kakunisen. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, I am so glad I'm really glad you're here because yeah, I didn't know so anybody will listen or watch, but you are. Thank the Lord. And I'm here to give you uh what what I'm hoping that will encourage your life and give you that space that you need to find that gap. Because that's one of the things I feel like I lacked in a lot in my life was somebody to give me that permission and that space to really think through things. Because we're always on the go, 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 go. You have to go to, if you're a student, you have to go to school, you gotta eat, you gotta sleep, you have to do homework. And then on the other hand, and then, I mean, I've been an international student for the longest, unless I feel like, and that with that, you also have to kind of keep up with your family back home and still keep up with the family, your friends and family you're making in the new country. And and then so now I'm a wife and a mom. So now I had to keep up with how my daughter is developing and keep up with how I can support my husband and thinking of how do I become the wife that this man prayed about and that I am meant to be. And then so it's like I'm always constantly like on the vehicle, but then sometimes it does take a pause. Head breathing. You can breathe out. And then you remember, I'm alive. 1 minute is not gonna kill me. To just sit down and think of the goodness of the Lord, of how you are a gift to the world, how you are meant to live, not survive. You're meant to lead your life, not just manage it, which is a huge reason why um I feel like I ended up on this journey of helping people find their gaps. So, anyways, a little bit about me. My name is Gondon Albright Sirikumagenge Doshime, and I am first and foremost a daughter on the Most High, King God, the one Amen. I am a wife to the one and only Alik Doshime. Yeah, he's everything. Basta tamlamakim, I would not stop. And I'm a mom to an Ariel. Uh, and I'm a sister, I am a friend, I'm a mentor, I am a mentee, I am a coworker, I have so many titles as you can tell. But some of the titles that I think I wanted to highlight was that now looking back, that's things that have really shaped who I am is obviously the things I've started with, but also some of my strengths is like learning. I am a learner. I'm like, teach me anything and everything you can. So that's why when people tell me about doing a podcast, I'm like, I would rather listen to podcast than do it. But then I also I love strategy. um I love interacting with people. I know it just feels like one way when you're recording, but I'm so excited to see the other way. That when you comment and when you like and when you share, I wonder what you think. So I guess I'm just excited to see what that's gonna look like because I love being relational. I think being relational is such a gift from the Lord, but it's also such a space that is so attacked, especially because of how the world is going. So you're gonna hear it a lot about it in this podcast. I've really struggled a lot with my relationships growing up, and even to this day, sometimes I do, but I think got to a point where I give myself space to find those gaps, and then I work on them, and that's kind of why if you're someone out there that was like me or is in the same boat that I was, I want to be that friend to give you that space and give you that permission to look at the gaps and don't think of them as because what I used to do is I just would even if I find the gap, it would be like, oh my gosh, I'm just a bad friend, and like just that's the end of it. Then I'm just not gonna have friends. That was such a lie because I love my friends and I know they love me too. And we're meant to be friends. And we just need to work on things because we are working progress. The other day I was on a road trip with two friends and we were playing those cards where they like just random questions, like conversational questions. And one question was, and I want to ask that to you too, because it's a fun question. And I think that was just an amazing time to reflect. The question was if every human being came with a label, I'll be yours. And then the label that came to mind straight was it would be under construction, proceed at your own risk. Which it sounds negative, honestly, but it's so true. I'm such a under construction individual, and a lot of people are. And also proceed at your own risk. And some risks are good. I mean, if I didn't like, maybe I'm gonna get that title share that. But if I think risk, even getting married for me was a risk because I grew up with not a lot of um good marriages that I saw just growing up, and we was like, no, I don't, there was doubt, and I think the Bible does it. It's like not very explicit how marriages are going to be. And it was to me was like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure. So it was a risk, really. But man, the habits was good. I am so happy I married this man. And there's a lot. So, and I'm sure there's some of my friends, my husband hopefully would say the same thing, that it was a risk to get to know me, to all these things. But here we are, we have an amazing daughter, and we are, you know, so happy and enjoying the blessings of the Lord. So, well, maybe that's my first questions to you is just like, what risk are you willing to take today or tomorrow or this month or for the rest of the year? And this podcast is gonna come out hopefully a little bit before the end of the year, so it's gonna be a good time for us to reflect what risk are we gonna take and really make it a point that those are risks. So another thing that is about me is I'm a COVID graduate, so I went to the school. My background is in architecture, but that's why I always think pictures and design and strategies and how things come together. And then I also have a product management degree, which also helps me think about management in a very concrete and intentional way. And now I'm doing a doctorate degree in organization leadership, which, yeah, if I have red eyes because my sleeps have now. Really, and I have assignments too, but God is good. God is good. I am here, right? And then I've gone through 11, I think 11 or 12 schools. Yeah, that's a lot of schools. And that's like in 3 different countries and 2 continents. Yeah, a lot of transitions. You can imagine 11 scores for my life. Um, Yeah, you can ask questions, but yeah, it's actually 12 schools. And then I said I lived in 3 continents, and I've always been against the status quo. Somehow, every time I'll be in a room, I don't know why, but I would always find something that can get better. And I used to get in trouble a lot because I would ask questions. I would ask, why isn't that this way instead of the way it is, or all of these things. And that if that happened to you, if you and that just speaks a lot about your leadership and some strength that you probably need to tap into and maybe talk to a leader and figure it out. But I would get in trouble with leaders because leaders would be like, I've never had anybody ask me that question. I'm like, I don't know why they have it. Here I am. What's the answer? And then but sometimes, but then I had to like sometimes chill and say, okay, maybe I shouldn't ask that question, or maybe I shouldn't push for an answer. But I've always been that person that always like going against the status quo. When I graduated, I graduated through the pandemic. My first master's, the architecture master's degree, and I went into tuition work, which was unheard of. As an international student, especially, it was the hardest. But would recommend, absolutely changed my life. No regrets. And then another thing is I'm a Gen Z, so you can imagine where I'm like half I would say like maybe half Gen Z, half millennial, because I'm like at the in the middle of the two. But I grew up with millennials, and then I also kind of grew up with Gen Z. So I'm like so much in the middle that I've seen a lot of things uh, in a good way, but that also gave me a lot of perspectives that people that have only been with millennials have had, and people that now are growing with Gen Zs are having. So I've always had those two perspectives, which is a lot of people in my generation. And that's why we're finding them ourselves in the gap, because we had not been given that space to think about which one is wrong, which one is right. And then another thing, I am a middle child too. I'm a middle child and I'm the first girl in my family. So a lot of pressure, good in good ways, sometimes in good ways. A lot of, I've always find myself being the one that pick up pieces and trying to get them together, and just overly, I guess, sensitive. Back in the days when they will say I'm sensitive, I used to feel like it's a note. But now I used honestly it was work from the Lord. Uh, like he reminded me, she actually, I just felt like the Lord told me I am sensitive too. That's why, the Bible does say he does not share his glory with another. He is a jealous God. I mean, you know how this story of, oh yeah, this is one of the stories I was reading the other day, how the Ark of the Covenant, when it was taken out, when David wanted to bring it, I don't remember the name of the person. He shifted it because it looked like he was going to sleep and fall, but he was a Levite, and he literally was struck and died. Like the Lord was like, yeah, I've told you, only the Levite can touch the Ark of the Covenant. So he's a sensitive God. That's something he just decided to give me. But the world just, or the environment I was in, did not give me that space, and I found them myself in gaps. So I don't know what you're struggling with right now, or what you're trying to figure out right now, or what decision you have to make right now. But the gap we live in is here to give you that space of reflection, that space, that permission. to pause and to reflect and to acknowledge that you are living in a gap, but a gap that is not meant to be bigger, but is meant to be smaller and smaller. And sometimes maybe the gap is just gonna stay there. But guess what? We build bridges. We build bridges instead of burning them, because a lot of time we burn bridges instead of building them. I've been there. Trust me, I've been there. Maybe I'm gonna share more about my story on the podcast, but this is just and I just feel like this is a conversation that is needed, especially in this day and age where we don't know where the world is going to, where the world is really going. And the thing is, we have that responsibility as young adults that are growing and becoming the leaders that are shaping our tomorrow. It's so it's so heavy for me, especially. And that's kind of why I decided to release this podcast on my daughter's birthday, or around my daughter's birthday. Is It reminds me of when I become a mom, a lot of things changed in a good way. It's no longer just sleep, eat, throw money in, and we're gonna be fine, or walk the ladder in career, and you know, and we're gonna survive and just have good retirement. And it became bigger. It became, why is my daughter learning from me? It became, how am I impacting her in the right way? How am I stewarding the person that she is, the gift that she is to this world? And that is so huge, especially as mom, especially as a daughter of the Most High that has a calling and that has a purpose in this world. So we are in the same boat. We have gaps. But we also have that permission, that opportunity to use those in the right way. So yeah, I hope this makes sense. I hope this makes sense and is encouraging and is welcoming, because I want you to come join me as we find more gaps that we probably haven't heard of or thought that we could be in, but also give ourselves permission to walk through it and be the people. Give ourselves the permission to be the people that we're called to be, because what you have, who you are, is all you need to make this world a better place. The world you live in, the family that God chose you to be in, the friendships that God surrounded you with, all you have is all you get. So, welcome to the gap. I am your host, Gwendolyn Albright, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video and podcast. Yeah, all right. Have an amazing rest of the day.